Verses 1 to 21. Here we have full instructions given concerning the meat offerings and drink offerings, which were appendages to all the sacrifices of animals. The beginning of this law is very encouraging. When you come into the land of your habitation which I give unto you, that you shall do so and so. v2. This was a plain intimation, not only that God was reconciled to them notwithstanding the sentence he had passed upon them, but that he would secure the promised land to their seed notwithstanding their proneness to rebel against him. They might think some time or other they should be guilty of a misdemeanor that would be fatal to them, and would exclude them forever, as the last had done for one generation, but this intimates an assurance that they should be kept from provoking God to such a degree as would amount to a forfeiture, for this statute takes it for granted that there were some of them that should in due time come into Canaan. The meat offerings were of two sorts, some were offered alone, and we have the law concerning those, Leviticus 2:1, etc. Others were added to the burnt offerings and peace offerings, and constantly attended them, and about these direction is here given. It was requisite, since the sacrifices of acknowledgement, specified in v3, were intended as the food of God's table, that there should be a constant provision of bread, oil, and wine, whatever the flesh meat was. The caterers or purveyors for Solomon's temple provided fine flour, 1 key. 4:22. And it was fit that God should keep a good house, that his table should be furnished with bread as well as flesh, and that his cup should run over. In my Father's house there is bread enough. Now the intent of this law is to direct what proportion the meat offering and drink offering should bear to several sacrifices to which they were annexed. If the sacrifice was a lamb or a kid, then the meat offering must be a 10th deal of flour, that is, an omer, which contained about 5 pints, this must be mingled with oil, the 4th part of a hin contained about 5 quarts, and the drink offering must be the same quantity of wine, about 1 quart and half a pint, v3 to 5. If it was a ram, the meat offering was doubled, 2/10 deals of flour, about 5 quarts, and 1/3 part of a hin of oil, which was to them as butter is to us, mingled with it, and the same quantity of wine for a drink offering, v6, 7. If the sacrifice was a bullock, the meat offering was to be trebled, 3 omers, with 5 pints of oil, and the same quantity of wine for a drink offering, v8 10. And thus for each sacrifice, whether offered by a particular person or at the common charge. Note, our religious services should be governed, as by other rules, so by the rule of proportion. Natives and strangers are here set upon a level, in this as in other matters, v 13:16 one law shall be for you and for the stranger that is proselyte to the Jewish religion. Now, this was an invitation to the Gentiles to become proselytes, and to embrace the faith and worship of the true God. In civil things there was a difference between strangers and true-born Israelites, but not in the things of God. As you are, so shall the stranger be before the Lord, for with him there is no respect of persons. See Isa 56:3. This was an obligation upon the Jews to be kind to strangers, and not to oppress them, because they saw them owned and accepted of God. Communion in religion is a great engagement to mutual affection, and should slay all enmities. It was a mortification to the pride of the Jews, who are apt to be puffed up with their birthright privileges. We are Abraham's seed. God let them know that the sons of the stranger were as welcome to him as the sons of Jacob. No man's birth or parentage shall turn either to his advantage or his prejudice in his acceptance with God. This likewise intimated that, as believing strangers should be accounted Israelites, so unbelieving Israelites should be accounted strangers. It was a happy presage of the calling of the Gentiles, and of their admission into the church. If the law made so little difference between Jew and Gentile, much less would the gospel make, which broke down the partition wall, and reconciled both to God in one sacrifice, without the observance of the legal ceremonies. A law for the offering of the first of their dough unto the Lord. This, as the former, goes upon the comfortable supposition of their having come into the promised land, v18. Now that they lived upon manna they needed not such an express acknowledgement of God's title to their daily bread, and their dependence upon him for it, the thing spoke for itself, but in Canaan, where they should eat the fruit of their own industry, God required that he should be owned as their landlord and their great benefactor. They must not only offer him the first fruits and tenths of the corn in their fields, these had already been reserved, but when they had it in their houses, in their kneading trough, when it was almost ready to be set upon their tables, God must have a further tribute of acknowledgement, part of their dough, the Jews say a 40th part, at least, of the whole lump, must be heaved or offered up to God, v. 20:21, and the priest must have it for the use of his family. Thus they must own their dependence upon God for their daily bread, even when they had it in the house with them. They must then wait on God for the comfortable use of it, for we read of that which was brought home, and yet God did blow upon it, and it came to little. Haggai 1:9. Christ has taught us to pray not, "Give us this year our yearly harvest," but "Give us this day our daily bread." God by this law said to the people, as the prophet long afterwards said to the widow of Sarepta, 1 Kings 17:13, "Only make me thereof a little cake first." This offering was expressly kept up by the laws of Ezekiel's visionary temple, and it is a commandment with promise of family mercies. Es 44:30 You shall give unto the priest the first of your dough, that he may cause the blessing to rest in thy house, for, when God has had his dues out of our estates, we may expect the comfort of what falls to our share.